I'm Jennifer Purcell, and welcome to my podcast, Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge, where we will discuss, discover, and learn more about the challenges and triumphs of those with NLD and other learning challenges. I do have a website for this podcast, and it is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter account for the podcast. They are all under the same name, which is Living with NLD. I also have a YouTube channel for the podcast, which can be found by Googling the title of the podcast, which is Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. I would like to tell you about a nonprofit that I use for my research for this podcast. It is called the NVLD Project, and I use their blog for my research. They are a nonprofit that is based in New York and is trying to get NVLD back on the DSM, and they provide many resources for people with NVLD on their website. I'll provide you with the website for them in the podcast description. All proceeds from the ads on this podcast will be donated towards the NVLD project. Please feel free to explore the other topics on the podcast, and hopefully you will learn something new from them. I hope you enjoy today's episodes. And today I am very excited to announce that BetterHelp is now sponsoring this podcast. I have had 7 years of therapy, so I know it can help change your life if you not only let it, but work on the personal goals that you set with your therapist. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are the greatest asset. And special offering to listeners of Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/ I'll put in the link in the podcast description for you. That's BetterHelp, HELEP. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. Good morning, and I hope you are enjoying the new podcasts that I created, which, again, if you haven't heard of them, one of them is called Shiro, Be Your Own Hero, and that one was about heroism and inspiring yourself to be your own hero in your life instead of trying to look for others to be your hero or mentors. And then the second one is called Think Out for Your Imagination, and that one is about the imagination I had when I was growing up and how I imagined that I could fold up my house into pocket size and take it with me wherever I wanted. And then the next one is Chats, Barks, and Growls, Combos with Your Pet. That one is probably the most fun one because I get to do my voice. And I get to do Truffle's voice. And just, tell you what I think dogs think throughout the day and what they think about their owners. So that one's fun for me. Fun. I also want to mention to you that I just launched my podcast swag on Wednesday of this week and have a page for it on my website, and I will also send you the link to it in the podcast description, and I will also send it to you in the newsletter that I usually send out on Fridays. I am now selling t-shirts, water bottles, and a backpack, and they all have the podcast logo and title on it and the tagline. So I am looking forward to watching the sales and seeing who buys them, and spreading the word more about my podcast. Good morning. So today's episode will be about why I think I got handed such a difficult life from Spirit. And this episode is pretty personal to me. It could be triggering for you if you have been sexually abused or experienced that, or you know somebody who has, if you have body insecurities or did, or have had difficult experiences in your life. I don't want you to think that by me going through this episode that I think that not everybody that I'm the only one that has a difficult life, because that's not true. I know a lot of people do, and that's just something you have to kind of accept and live with. So I'm trying to make this be more about, again, what I've gone through and what I've learned from those experiences, and how you can apply that to help yourself learn as well. Okay, so have you ever wondered why your life is so challenging, or why did God, Spirit, whatever name you want to give that entity, give you a difficult life? Or why you do have more challenges than others do? I have thought all of those before, but I know that all the challenges that I went through have made me who I am today and continue to go through. Those challenges include NLD, episodic migraines, or chronic ones, sometimes they're still chronic, sexual abuse, earning trust, radical acceptance, and body insecurities. When I think about all those challenges, I know that God didn't give me more than what he or she, if you want to put a gender to God, thought I could handle, even if I felt like it was too much at the time. It was easier to get through those experiences because I have support from my family, major support from them, and friends. It was also easier to go through them because my family never gave up on me. They always had my back and still do. I couldn't have made it through those dark times without them. Even though I had even though I had 14 years since I disclosed to my family about my sexual abuse, I still have triggers and challenges in that area. But because I have had 7 years of therapy and continue to do it, I have many coping skills to help me get through those triggers. It also would be, sorry, let me start that over. It also would have been hard for me to make it through high school and college without my ESA truffles. She has had such a positive impact on my life, and I don't think she even can begin to imagine that. I remember shortly after I got her, I was walking her one day and I felt like committing suicide. I wanted her to leave me alone as I laid down on a bench. I kept telling her to go home and even dropped her leash, but she didn't listen. She stayed with me the whole time I was crying. I think she knew I was going through something challenging. I never told my family about that story because I was ashamed that I had those thoughts in my mind. She seems to always know when I need her the most. Whenever I cry, she licks the tears off my face as if she is trying to say, "Mommy, don't cry. I'm here for you, and it's okay, or it will be okay." The positive energy, emotional support, and comfort from a dog do wonders for me. I'm so glad that my parents got her for me 12 years ago. Not sure how I would have gone through those 2 years of letting go the trauma and abuse and family drama without truffles. It was more like 4 years, but I mean, the first years were really difficult. And family and my friends are my rock, especially my family. They have been through thick and thin with me, and they always are there to help me get back up when I have been knocked down by NLD, migraines, tears, family drama, boy drama, or being ghosted by guys and friends. I remember when I was in my first 2 years of college and would start crying at the end of my run in the morning. I would run from my apartment to the Berkeley Marina and back. Excuse me. At that halfway point, I would start to cry because I was so homesick. I didn't care who heard me cry. It was very therapeutic for me. I also had many times when I would cry myself to sleep at night because I missed my parents and Truffle so much. It was so hard to get through those 2.5 years without her in college with me. But I was able to because I had my brother, frequent trips home, and close friends to support me. Unfortunately, the way I got through the times I was homesick in college, in toxic relationships, or going through personal things was by overeating to absorb my emotions and to protect myself from being taken advantage of again. It was so hard to lose those 40 pounds 4 times in my life. Little did I know that there were other ways I could protect myself. I mentioned those skills in the previous episode. I can protect myself by standing up for what I believe in, not letting anyone change who I am, and the quality of my relationship with my family. Also, my 7 years and counting of therapy have helped me so much with going through the processes, going through the processes of letting go, radical acceptance of things that not changing, and family drama. If I didn't do therapy, I would still be having constant triggers throughout the day. I would still be having nightmares and thoughts of suicide. It would be hard for me to not blame myself for the sexual abuse and the aftermath of it. Also, if I didn't have my podcast, it would be more difficult for me to process all of these difficult things I've been through because this is a good, healthy way for me to release it. These challenges have made me who I am today, a badass warrior. I wouldn't be um, as emotionally strong as I am if I hadn't gone through all those challenges that I have. Yes, there are many times that I wish my life was easier, and I'm sure you do too. But if it was too easy, like a piece of cake, then I wouldn't try to push myself through those times when I wanted to give up. Giving up is an easy choice, but having the courage to weather the storm is a more difficult one. I have let the changes in my life strengthen me, not destroy or break me. Yes, they might have broken me or destroyed me for a little bit, but not for long. I want you to think about the insights, lessons, and takeaways that you can take from the challenges that I've experienced and still am. Thank you for listening to this episode, even if it was challenging for you to do so. And today I am very excited to announce that BetterHelp is now sponsoring this podcast. I have had 7 years of therapy, so I know it can help change your life if you not only let it, but work on the personal goals that you set with your therapist. Without a healthy mind, being truly happy and at peace is hard. The good news is therapy works. But what is therapy exactly? It's whatever you want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and would like some tools to help. Or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships at work, not dealing well with stress. Whatever you need, it's time to stop being ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in person therapist near you to help. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. So you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's more affordable than in person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what online therapy is really about. It's always a good time to invest in yourself because you are the greatest asset. And special offering to listeners of Living with an Invisible Learning Challenge. You can get 10% off your first month of professional therapy at betterhelp.com/. I'll put in the link in the podcast description for you. That's BetterHelp, HELEP. Thanks again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this podcast. As I wrap up, there are some things I would like to share with you. I do have a website for this podcast. It is called livingwithnld.com. I also have a Facebook and Instagram page for this podcast. It is called Living with NLD. I will include the links for those in the description. In conclusion, I would like to hear from my audience. If you know individuals with NLD that I could interview for this podcast, please email me at livingwithnld@gmail.com. What are you interested in learning about NLD? I know I'm not an expert, but I do know I have the living experience of having it. I would like you to practice journaling about your gifts and differences. Also, see if there is a way that you can make that difference become easier for you to do than it originally was. Thank you for listening today, and please go to my YouTube channel and subscribe to it. Thank you. Bye.